Hey everybody, welcome to the GMG review. Today we're taking a look at Forces of Fantasy, the new Warhammer, the Old World supplement for the good armies in the Old World, and of course a cool homage to this classic Warhammer supplement, as well as the Arcane Journal. No, it's not an army book. It is a supplement for the rules in this book that give you the complete profile set, point values, and army list totals for the Bretonnians. Now what this is, as far as a review, is me going over all of the core stuff in the Forces of Fantasy book for each army. Mostly to give you a heads up on any basing stuff you might want to do, sort of a general principles and overview of the army list itself, and then of course the key features of this book, what an Arcane Journal is. And it is not an army book. It's not required to play the army. Everything you need to play the army is in here. You can tell very much the influence of books like, jeez, I got so many books in front of me. This right here, the Armies of Lord of the Rings. Same kind of design team where your core lists are all going to be in one spot. So let's dive in. This is part 3 of my review, and we are now moving on to the Kingdom of Bretonnia. You get some wonderful background stuff for the army in here. And if you're picking up the Army starter set today, you get a starter army list for 1,250 points in that box set. This, however, is separate. The actual army book for the army is separate. So while the army box will get you started with the rules, the core rules for the game itself, and the get you by 1,250 point list with the profiles for the models that come in the box, you're going to need this to play the actual army going forward into the future. So let's talk about the Grand Army of Bretonnia. Required units, there's only one in this army. It does follow the standard composition rules of 50% of your army can be characters, 25 must be core, 50 can be special, 25 can be rare, and 20% can be spent on mercenaries, of which I haven't seen any units yet. But allied detachments, you can have any of the armies of infamy, as outlined in this book right here, which is the Errantry War and the Exiles. And then one of the following grand armies can be taken as allies as well. So Dwarven Mountain Hordes, who are suspicious, which means that they will attack you if you flee through them. Empire of Man, High Elf Realms can be just pure allies, and then the Wood Elves, who are also suspicious because you do keep talking about their Lady of the Lake. Your required unit is either a unit of foot knights or realm knights who are mounted. So you have to have a unit of knights always in a Bretonnian army, which makes sense. They did do away with having to take a battle standard bearer. It's a may upgrade, not a must upgrade. It used to be you had to have the battle standard bearer in the army list. It just doesn't cost any points now, which is cool. So for your characters, 0 to 1 Duke, 0 to 1 Baron or Prophetess per 1,000 points. And then Paladins, Damsels, and Sergeants in Arms can be taken freely. On top of the 1+ Knights of the Realm, you also have to have a 1+ Men-at-Arms or Peasant Bowman. So you've always got to have the riches and the poors, basically, together in the same army list. 0 to 1 unit of Knights Errant per Knights of the Realm unit, or foot or mounted. And then 50% of your army can be Squires, Questing Knights, Pegasus Knights, and Mounted Yeomen. 0 to 2 units of Battle Pilgrims per 1,000 points. And up to 25% of your points can be Grail Knights, and 0 to 1 Field Trebuchet. It's a really nice, simple army list. All right, Lords of Bretonnia, they're Empire, but better, because you can be Strength 5. A Duke is Strength 5, toughness 4, 4 wounds, Initiative 5, and Attacks 5, Leadership 9, Weapon Skill 7. Take that, any Knights from the Empire army list, which you may have just seen me review, as we are now into the comparing of humans. Barons are better than Grandmasters, still, Weapon Skill 6, Strength Toughness 4, Wounds 3, Initiative 5, 4 Attacks, and Leadership 9, and a Paladin, also Weapon Skill 6. Just hitting like tons of bricks here, but only 2 wounds. As all the humans are in this edition of the game, they're on 25 by 25 mil bases. Your cavalry is on 30 by 60 millimeter bases, inch bases. And I believe even your peasant squires are as well, as far as basing goes. It's 30 by 60 for pretty much everything, 40 by 60 for the Pegasus Knights. No, the Mounted Yeomen are still 25 by 50, so they're on the smaller ones. Handmaidens of the Lady, it's a Damsel or a Prophetess. You get your core army rules. Aura of the Lady, Blessing of the Lady, Lore of the Lady, Magical Attacks, Magic Resistance -2 for casting against them, and Shield of the Lady. The core army stuff that you're going to be sort of like worried about in this is going to be your vows, and of course your blessing. Now the Blessing of the Lady works much like in the old days. And in the army special rules, we should probably talk about that first. Once deployment's complete, instead of rolling off to determine who takes the first turn, the Kingdom of Bretonnia may kneel and pray. If they do so, they get the blessing of the lady. It's a 6+ ward save against any wound and a 5+ against strength 5 or higher. It's the same as it's always been. However, if you flee, it goes away and you cannot get it back. Losing the blessing, unlike any other special rules, the blessing of the lady can be lost during the game. Any model or unit that flees or any character that refuses a challenge will immediately lose this special rule. You get the finest war horses. When a unit with this special rule makes a charge, flee, or pursuit roll, it may reroll any dice that rolls a natural 1 before discarding any dice that are required to be discarded. And then you can use the lance. Now the lance formation is the old school lance, not the 3x3 lance of previous editions. The front, flank, and rear of a unit in the lance formation is determined by the models in the second rank, and the last rank is shown in the diagram. So your rear is from the last rank, second rank for the flanks. Command group models, they must be placed in the first and second rank. Maneuvering a lance, a unit in lance formation may not turn or redress ranks, but may wheel, move backwards, move sideways, and reform as normal. When a unit in a lance formation wheels, its movement is measured from the second rank, so you wheel from these corners. All other movements measured from the models in the front. The lance in combat, only the model in the front of the lance is required to make base contact. If this model cannot make base contact with the enemy, the lance becomes blunted. While engaged in combat, every model on the outside of the lance is considered to be engaged. So if this front model is engaged, all 4 of these guys are engaged. So your frontage would be 7 in this case for this, this formation. Rank bonus, a unit in lance formation can claim a rank bonus of +1 for each rank that contains enough models as determined by its troop tank. Combat result bonus, a unit in lance formation may claim a +1 combat result bonus. Flank charges, a unit charged in the flank align the enemy against the widest rank. The flank then becomes blunted, and once you're blunted, you basically flip over. The models at its front cannot make base contact with the enemy. It makes a disordered charge. It is charged by an enemy unit, but does not or cannot perform a counter charge. A blunted lance immediately reforms to adopt a close order formation, as shown in Figs 11.1 and 11.2. Place a number of models equal to lance's complete number of ranks in base contact with the enemy. That cause it to become blunted, then rearrange the remaining models to maintain as close to correct order formation as the command models going into the new rank. Casualty removal, when removing casualties from a lance, you may remove them from the middle or the back rank rather than one end as usual. Lance formation and skirmishers, when a unit of skirmishers is charged by a lance, the skirmishers will not form up once contact has been made. Instead, each skirmisher is moved as directly as possible towards the lance in order to make contact with it and another one. Models that cannot make base contact with the lance are within the fighting rank. Models that cannot are placed behind the fighting rank. Note that skirmishers cannot blunt a lance. And characters joining a lance, when a character joins a lance, they are placed on the outside of the lance in any rank, displacing one or more rank and files. They go anywhere along the edges, basically. In combat, only the model on the front of the lance is required to make base contact. You're only going to get 1 rank for like this size. So if this was a 10 model unit, you get +1 to your rank bonus because only the 4, because they're cavalry or heavy cavalry, they need 4 models to create a rank. So you're getting +1 rank bonus, but you're automatically getting a +1 combat result bonus all the time. So it's almost like you have a rank that you can't get rid of, which is kind of interesting. And then peasantry, if a unit with this special rule is within 6 of a friendly model that has the Knight's Vow, the Questing Vow, or the Grail Vow, and if that model is not fleeing, that unit can use that model's leadership characteristic instead of their own. In addition, standard carried by a unit with this special rule cannot be counted as a trophy of war, so you don't get any points for peasant banners, because of course you don't. They're made from nothing. A character with this special rule can only join a unit that has a special rule. So the peasants join the peasants. And then your vows. So just like previous editions, you get the Knight's Vow, the Questing Vow, and the Grail Vow. A model with the Knight's Vow does not have to make a panic test when peasants are destroyed or flee within 6. A unit with this vow cannot be joined by a character with the peasantry special rule. A character that this chivalrous vow cannot join a unit with the peasantry special rule. The Questing Vow, a unit with the Questing Vow has the stubborn special rule and can reroll any failed fear, terror, panic test. In addition, a model with this vow does not have to make a panic test when a friendly unit with the peasantry special rule is destroyed within 6. So it basically adds on to the Knight's Vow. And then, like I said, you have to have at least that vow to join the other vow. So you can't join a Knight's Vow or Peasantry unit if you're a Questing Knight. And then the Grail Vow, you're immune to psychology, you have magic attacks, and are stubborn. In addition, models with this vow always benefit from the Blessing of the Lady. Special rule do not have to pray at the start of the game. However, they cannot refuse a challenge. And this model with this vow can only be joined by a character, unit with this vow can only be joined by a character that also has this vow, or by a Handmaiden of the Lady, because they protect them. And you cannot join peasantry. And that's it. Those are your core army special rules. There are additional ones in this Kingdom of Bretonnia Arcane Journal. So then you've got your Handmaidens, as I said earlier. They get the Aura of the Lady. They can be a level 4, level 2 wizard, and they can take battle magic, elementalism, and illusion. So kind of like the Wood Elf lores, and then battle magic, which is kind of the core standard lore for battle wizards. You can mount them, and you can take additional wizard levels. So the Aura of the Lady is they get magical attacks, and any character that has joined them have magical attacks. And the Shield of the Lady, if this character has joined a unit that has a unit strength of 10 or more, and then has a chivalrous vow, they may voluntarily retire to the rear of the unit at any time, moving through the ranks to take a position in the combat. Should they do so, they're no longer within the fighting rank and cannot make any attacks. However, they continue to confer the benefit of their leadership and special rules, and can cast spells as if they were in the front. So the prophetesses and damsels can basically lead from the rear. Sergeants at Arms, they are 25 by 25 standard infantry, and they have the peasantry special rule, and they are warbands, meaning that if you're in a warband unit, so like goblins and orcs, you get to add the rank bonus to your leadership when you're fighting. They have Peasant's Duty. This character in any unit they've joined may choose to give ground rather than fall back in good order, and does not make a panic test when a friendly unit of levies, breaks, and flees from combat within 6 of it. Additionally, unless this character is fleeing, any friendly unit that's within command range and has the levy special rule may reroll a failed panic test. So they're basically like leaders for your levies. And they can have halberds, additional hand weapons, and cavalry spears if they're mounted, so you can take them as a squire leader too. They're kind of like human captains, but with skill 2, weapon skill 4, strength 4. The general rule of the Bretonnians, they're stronger than normal humans, which is kind of neat. And 2 wounds. You can take a Bretonnian Warhorse for 16 points, Barded Pegasus for 30, Royal Pegasus, which is the one that all of the new character models come on, for 60, a Hippogriff for a Duke and a Baron, a Bretonnian Warhorse, Royal Pegasus, or Unicorn for a Prophetess or Damsel of the Mounted of the Lady. I like the Unicorn. And then Sergeant of Arms can have a Warhorse. So yeah, Warhorse is 25 by 50, a Bretonnian Warhorse is 30 by 60. And they get the finest Warhorse rule, with first charge, swift stride, and counter charge, and then just fast cavalry and swift stride for the warhorse. Difference between the Barded Pegasus and the Royal Pegasus, it's higher strength and gets +1 to your toughness in addition to the extra wound it gives, and then has higher initiative and more attacks. It gets Armor Bane +1 for that 6s to hit, give it additional AP for the Royal Pegasus only. Counter charge, first charge, fly 10 inches, stomp attacks 2, and swift stride. Unicorns get +1 wound, and they're initiative 5 with 2 attacks and strength 4. They're on a 40 by 60 mil base, just like the Pegasus Knights. And then they get hooves and a horn, which counts as a hand weapon. They're Armor Bane 2 for the Unicorn, Armored Hide 1, so they get +1 save. Beguiling Aura, counter charge, magical attack, stomp, and swift stride. And then they get the Beguiling Aura. Each model must make a leadership test before making any rolls to hit against the model with this, during the combat phase. If this test is failed, only rolls of natural 6 will hit them. So basically, you charm them as you're a unicorn. You're so cool looking. All right, that cool new plastic Knights of the Realm on foot unit. Weapon skill 4, strength toughness 3, plus skill 2. First Knight gets an additional attack, leadership 8. 25 by 25 mil bases, 5 plus for their unit size, like base. Then they get hand weapons, heavy armor, and shields. So 4 plus armor saves in combat. Take great weapons for 2 points for the entire unit, or replace their shields with great weapons. So you can have both if you want. It's cheaper though if you replace them. And then any unit can upgrade 1 model to a First Knight, Standard Bearer, and a Champion, and take a Magic Standard worth 25 points. They get Blessing of the Lady, Close Order, Furious Charge, and the Knight's Vow. And they're heavy infantry, which means they need a unit strength of 10 to disrupt them if they get charged in the flank or rear. Squires, 25 mil bases. These are your, man, I got some old Perry Squires I really want to paint up. Take a 5-man unit of these. You can have an Esquire as your champion, and then you can take Fire and Flee as a special rule, or Scouts for 1 extra point. Move through cover, open order, peasantry, skirmishers, and vanguard. Men-at-Arms, boy howdy, you get a lot of these in the new box set. Weapon skill, bless skill 2, peasants. They are terrible fighters, leadership 5, but they do have hordes. They get to add their rank bonus to become leadership 7. They get levies, peasantry, shield wall, warband. Shield wall is handy for turning a withdrawing good order into a push. And the Grail Monk can have a Grail Triptych. You get basically 2 champions. You get the Yeoman and a Grail Monk. A Grail Monk is a command group model that follows all the rules for a champion. In other words, if a unit contains a Yeoman and a Grail Monk, contains 2 champions. And can have a Blessed Triptych. The Blessed Triptych gains the Stubborn special rule. So basically you buy Stubborn for your units when you buy them as an upgrade. And then the polearm is either single or double-handed weapons. They can fight as spears or fight as halberds. So fight extra rank or requires 2 hands and +1 strength, -1 AP. You choose at the start of a combat. Sort of a round of combat, sorry. And then peasant bowmen, they got bliss skill 3. They're actually a little bit more trained, and leadership 7. They are hand weapons and longbows as their equipment. And then they can take light armor for a point. They have a VN as a champion, standard bearer and a musician for full command. And they can take defensive stakes and braziers for flaming attacks. And defensive stakes is when they're deployed, the stakes are placed in base contact with the front of the unit and remain there for the whole game unless they move, otherwise, and then it goes away. Enemy units that can charge in the front of a unit equipped with defensive stakes as normal, but do not have to physically cross the stakes to do so. Instead, the front rank of a charging unit moves into base contact with the stakes, and they make a disordered charge and become disrupted. A model whose troop type is cavalry or chariot must make a dangerous terrain test if they end in base contact with stakes, which is very cool. And then we've got our close order and levies and peasantry rule, but they don't get horde because they have a core leadership of 7, which is interesting. The bowmen are braver than the men-at-arms are. All right, battle pilgrims in the Grail Reliquary. Some of the coolest older miniatures for this army, almost 20 years, actually they are 20 years old. It's 2024. They came out in 2003. Whoa, 20-year-old miniatures. Yeah, they've got leadership 8, which is pretty high for this. 25 by 25 mil bases and a 50 by 75 for the Reliquary itself. 5 to 30 models in the unit. May include a Grail Reliquary for 65 points. You can just take battle pilgrims and then you can upgrade them to have the Grail Reliquary. It has close order, hatred, all enemies, levies, peasantry, and stubborn for the battle pilgrims. And then the Reliquary itself is blessing the lady, close order, Grail Reliquary, hatred, all enemies, levies, peasantry, retinue of the saints, and stubborn. Now, the Grail Reliquary is placed in the center of the unit as close as possible and occupies the space and counts as 6 models. 2 in the front rank, 2 in the second rank, and 2 in the third. If the unit turns or reforms, it must be repositioned in the new rank. Casualties are removed from the unit as normal, but the Grail Reliquary cannot lose any wounds while any battle pilgrims remain. And it has 6 wounds. It's basically just another model in the unit, but with 6 wounds and 6 attacks. It counts with a standard bearer and a musician for the unit, while the Grail Reliquary model is within 12 of a friendly model that has the Grail vow and is not fleeing. It gains immune to psychology and unbreakable as well. So stick it in your Grail Knight. And then retinue of the saints, your army may include up to 1 Grail Reliquary for every character or unit with the Grail vow that it includes, because it's basically, they're following them around, being like impressed by how heroic they are, and carrying the dead body of their friends. The Knights Errant, so these are your young and impetuous knights. Their weapon skill 3 and only leadership 7, but they're cheap. The Gallant gets an extra attack. And they are on 30 by 60s. You can make these out of the plastic knight kit. So if you do get the army box, you can make these just as well as you can make the Realm Knights if you don't want to follow the sort of like introductory army list that's in there. And they get Blessing the Lady, Close Order, Finest Warhorse, First Charge, Impetuous, which means they got to declare a charge unless they can roll a 4+ and they can act normally. And they can Lance, Swift Stride, and have the Knight's Vow. So they're cheap knights, basically. And then Mounted Knights of the Realm, this is your core required unit. Heavy Cavalry, 30 by 60 with 5+ as their basic unit size. A hand weapon, heavy armor, lance, and shield is their core equipment. And then they can have full command, first knight with a magic weapon of 25 points, and 25 points worth of magic standards. They get the Blessing of the Lady, Close Order, Counter Charge, Finest Warhorse, First Charge, Lance Formation, Swift Stride, and Knight's Vow. Then your Questing Knights, these are your Great Weapon Knights. And they have Blessing the Lady, Close Order, Finest Warhorses, First Charge, Lance Formation, Swift Stride, and Questing Vow. So they count as stubborn. And they can take, the Paragon can take a Knightly Virtue, which is kind of like a special non-magic item skill. And magic items up to 25 points. They can also buy full command and a magic standard worth up to 100 points. That's crazy they can take that expensive of a standard. And then finally the Grail Knights. Their unit leader is basically a character. He's got 2 attacks and he can take or 3 attacks, sorry, and he can take a magic item worth up to 50 points. And they're living saints. They can all issue and accept challenges as if they were characters. They have the Grail Vow, so obviously they're immune to psychology. And then, they're 2 attacks, strength 4, toughness 4. Like they're weapon skill 6. They're super knights. But they're rare. And then Pegasus Knights, your flyers on 40 by 60s. You get 3 of these in the box set with the rulebook. They are just core Knights of the Realm, but they've got strength toughness 4 because of their mount and 2 wounds each because of their mount. They've got hand weapon, lances, heavy armor, and shields. And barding, full command is option for them. You do get enough commands, because you get 3, I think, sprues, or you get enough sprues of knights that you can make the command miniatures for these if you want to give them full command. Blessing the Lady, countercharge, dispersed formation, first charge, fly 10, furious charge, Pegasus, and first knight only. And then lance formation, skirmisher, swift stride, knight's vow. And dispersed formation, while in skirmish formation, they have to be within 2 instead of 1 of each other to be in coherency. Mounted yeomen, these are your squires on horseback. They are light cavalry, so they're 25 by 50 mil bases, and you have to have at least 5 of them. They can take light armor and shields if you want, and they come with short bows, cavalry spears, and hand weapons. They're fast cav, fire and flee, levies, open order, peasantry, reserve move, skirmishers, and swift stride, and they can get feigned flight for 2 points per model if you want as well as their command options. Hippogriff, this is your mounted monster, and they're on 50 by 50s. You don't get a huge mounted monster in this. Plus 1 to toughness, plus 3 to your wounds, strength 5, weapon skill 5. It's a decent fighter, and not that expensive either. Its serrated maw, though, is armor bane 2, multiple wounds 2. In combat, this model must make 1 of its attacks each turn with this weapon. So even though it's got 4 attacks, it does 3 with the claws and 1 with the bite. And then finally, your one and only war machine, the field trebuchet, toughness 7 with 3 wounds, thing's a tank. It's got 4 wounds because it has 4 crew, and it's on a 60 by 100 with 25 by 25 mil crew, who are peasants, levy peasants, and skirmishers. It's a stone thrower with a 12 to 72 inch range, strength 5 under the blast or 10 under the hole, bombardment, cumbersome, immovable object, move or shoot, and multiple wounds, D3 plus 1 under the hole. Shoots like a stone thrower, and then has a stone thrower misfire table. And once it's placed, it can never move, but it can still pivot freely during its turn to shoot. All right, virtues. So these are the virtues you can buy your knights. Some are only allowed for knights with certain vows. And then you can have each of these once per army. The virtue of knightly temper. During the turn in which it's charged, you get extra attacks D3 and hatred all enemies. The virtue of heroism. Unless using a magic weapon, a model with this virtue gains killing blow and monster slayer. Virtue of stoicism. A model with this virtue and its unit may reroll the 2d6 making a break test. Virtue of the penitent, duke, baron, or paladin only. A character with this virtue gains the unbreakable special rule. However, they cannot join a unit. So good for a guy and a monster. Virtue of the ideal, duke, baron, or paladin only. You get +1 weapon skill, initiative, and attacks and leadership. However, you can't be the general or join any units. And then virtue of the impetuous knight. A model of this virtue gains the impetuous special rule. In addition, this model and its unit increase its maximum possible charge range by 3 inches. Finally, when this model and its unit make a charge roll, you may apply D3 modifier to the result. The virtue of audacity, a model of this virtue may reroll any failed rolls to hit made against an enemy model with a higher weapon skill. That's not going to be, that's good for your infantry knights, obviously, because they're weapon skill 3, and very handy in the infantry war list later on. The virtue of purity is 30 points. A model of this virtue always benefits from the blessing of the lady, and always has a 5+ ward save, even if the model's army did not pray at the start of the game. And then virtue of duty for 25 points, dukes, barons, and paladins only. Unless the general of their army has been removed as a result of a casualty, when calculating its combat result, this character may claim a +1 combat result point. This character cannot join be your army general or join a friendly unit. And then virtue of the joust, you can reroll failed rolls to wound when using a lance. Virtue of confidence, a model of this virtue must always issue and accept a challenge if possible, and can reroll any hit rolls during a challenge. Virtue of noble disdain, you roll any failed rolls to hit during your first round of combat when engaged with an enemy equipped with missile weapons, because you just think they suck. And virtue of discipline, a model with this virtue and its unit can march while they're within 8 of an enemy unit without having to make a leadership test. And then the virtue of empathy. Dukes, barons, and paladins, you can join a unit with the peasantry special rule. And you got all your magic items. So lots of classics in here, just like the virtues, lots of things that were around in the old days, like in this book. It's cool to see this stuff come back and for them to dig in, do homages to the older rules. A Sword of the Quest. It has it's a hand-and-a-half sword. It's single-handed, +1 strength, -1 AP. Magic attacks and strike first, so it's initiative 10. And then two-handed, it's strength +2, -2 AP. Magic attacks, multiple wounds 2. Two-handed and strike last, so initiative 1 before modifiers. Sword of Heroes. It uses your base strength, magic attacks, and monster slayer. When making to wound for a hit caused the Sword of Heroes, roll a 5+ will always succeed regardless of toughness. So you're kind of like a slayer with that thing. The Heartwood Lance. It's strength +3, AP -3 magical attacks. Models whose true type is cavalry or monster only. The Heartwood Lance can only be used during a turn where you charged. In subsequent turns, it's just a magic hand weapon. Or you must use your hand weapon, sorry. And then the Morning Star for Cass, the classic. +1 strength, -1 AP magic attack. Any weapon carried by an enemy model that suffers 1 or more unsaved wounds is destroyed, so you lose your magic weapon. The Gilded Cuirass is a suit of heavy armor. In addition, the model has a regeneration 5+ special rule. The Grommel Great Helm can be worn with other armor. You improve your armor value by 1 and reroll any natural 1 when making a save roll. So it's literally the Dwarven Grommel rule. The Mantle of Damsel Elena. The model bearer is immune to the poison attack special rule. If the bearer is wounded by an attack with this special rule, it's just a normal 2-wound roll instead. Serena's Locket. Models with this troop type are infantry or cavalry only. And the bearer is immune to the multiple wounds X special rule. If they're wounded by this attack, it's just a single wound. The Valorous Standard rolls 3d6 when making a break test and discards the highest result. The Conqueror's Tapestry. Any enemy standard captured by this unit is worth 100 victory points as a trophy of war. That's a very handy one. Errantry Banner. All models in a unit with the Errantry Banner have a +1 modifier to their strength during a turn in which they charged, but they're impetuous. And then the Banner of Shalom. Enemy units cannot declare a stand and shoot against a unit with the Banner of Shalom. The Falcon Horn of Friedmund. During the combat subphase of their turn, if they are not engaged in combat, this character may attempt to use the Falcon Horn of Friedmund by making a leadership test. If it's passed until your next turn of turn subphase, enemy units cannot use the Fly X special rule. The Antlers of the Great Hunt. If the wearer of the Antlers of the Great Hunt is mounted on a Barded Warhorse or a Warhorse, they and any unit they join gain the move through cover rule. That's sounded like some Wood Elf stuff that got taken out of the woods. And then Gauntlet of the Duel. Challenges issued by the bearer of the Gauntlet of the Duel cannot be refused because he gives you the glove slap like Homer. Glove slap, baby, glove slap. Arcane items. The Silver Mirror for 35 points. Single use. The bearer of the Silver Mirror must use it when attempting a wizardly dispel. If they do so, it's mace, right? Not must. Roll an extra d6 when making the dispel roll and discard the lowest result. If a double 1 is rolled for any 2 of the dice rolled, the bearer is outclassed in the art automatically, and the dispel attempts fail. If the dispel attempt is successful, the spell is dispelled, and the casting wizard suffers a strength 4 hit with an AP of -2. Yeah, if double 1 is rolled and any of the 2 dice rolled, then it's going to be your miscast. So you increase your chance of getting outclassed as well. Sacrament of the Lady, single use. The bearer of the Sacrament of the Lady must use it before making a casting roll. If they do, apply a +2 to the modifier to the casting roll. It's a main, not a must. And the Prayer Icon of Quenelle. The bearer of the Prayer Icon of Quenelle increases their dispel range by 3 inches. Additionally, when attempting to dispel a hex spell, the bearer of the Prayer Icon of Quenelle gains a +1 of the dispel roll. And then Lore of the Ladies. Now, the Lore of the Lady is your signature spells you can drop any of the other spells for. So because this edition is back to rolling randomly to see what your spells are, you can always drop any of your spells that you want down to one of the signatures, and you have 3 options for the Lore of the Lady. You have the Lady's Gift, which is an enchantment. If you roll a 7+ or a 10+, you get higher level abilities out of it. And it's range 12. It remains in play. If the spell is cast with a casting roll of 7 or more, you get it regenerate 6+. If it's 10 or more, it's 5+. And you can target a unit in combat. The Burning Gaze, it's a magic missile on a 10+. 5d6 inch range, draw a straight line 5d6 inches in length from the caster's base edge. Any enemy model whose base falls under the line suffers a strength 4 hit with no armor saves permitted, but you can make ward and regenerations. And then finally, the Lady's Wrath. It's an enchantment with a 9+ to cast and a range of self. It remains in play. While the spell's in play, they modify the strength characteristic to a maximum of 10 and improve the armor piercing characteristic of this weapons by 1. So, yeah, the caster and their mount and their unit gain +1 of their modifier to their strength. So Lady's Wrath is pretty powerful. Really does jack up a unit. And that's it for the Bretonnians. Again, nice to see some new models. The Foot Knights in particular, I think, are extremely cool. The Lance is a bit, I mean, you're not taking huge units. If you are, there's no point because you're just getting this +1. I do like that they got rid of a bit of the heraldry stuff in this army. They made it so that you'd have like a lord and all of their knights that you were following around. The new base size does make them rank up quite well. I've built the army box, so I can say that the ability to like push the guys together is much improved. And I do love the peasants. The peasants are just very cool models. So let's check out what the armies of infamy are. So like I said before, the Arcane Journal allows you to make 2 variant army lists. It also gives you some new character models. There is 1 returning character, which makes sense because he's immortal, and that's the Green Knight, and then 2 armies of infamy. I'm really excited, honestly, about one of them. The other one's just neat. And this is the one I'm excited about. The Bretonnian Exiles. These are Bretonians who basically have been kicked out of the country for whatever reason, and they still serve the lady, and they still serve Bretonnia, but they do it in dishonor. They've left because of dishonor. So the first thing is you get a variant composition. You get some different special rules that add on to the special rules in the core army list. And then you get some access to additional magic items and some cool new characters. So the Bretonnian Exiles one I'm excited about because I really want to build my Empire army. And this is going to allow me to mix and match some stuff. So you get 50% of your army can be spent on 0 to 1 Baron per 1,000 points, so no Dukes. 0 to 1 Damsel, Paladins, Outcast Wizards, and Sergeants of Arms. Outcast Wizards are, because you don't get Damsels, you get, or sorry, 0 to 1 Damsel, you get like a Renegade Damsel basically, but you get Outcast Wizards who are like Hedge Wizards. At least 25% of your army must be spent on either 1+ unit of Knights of the Realm on foot or mounted, and then 1+ unit of Yeoman Guard or Peasant Bowmen, Yeoman Guard being a new unit. 0 to 1 unit of Knights Errant per 1,000 points, and Men-at-Arms or Mounted Yeomen. Up to 33% of your army points can be spent on Squires and Pegasus Knights, and 0 to 1 unit of Battle Pilgrims. And up to 33% of your points can be spent on Questing Knights and Border Prince Brigands, like little mercenaries. 0 to 1 Field Trebuchet per 1,000 points, 0 to 1 Border Prince Bombards, which are mortars from the Empire list per 1,000 points. It's so neat, it's all mixed up. And then 25% of your army can be used on mercenaries, including the following: Free Company Militia and Empire Archers from the Empire of Man army list, which I think is super cool. But no allies, you don't get any allies. And then the Battle Standard Bearer, a single paladin in your army may be upgraded to be a Battle Standard Bearer at no cost, and magic items, you can take common or Bretonnian magic items. Special rules: Banished Lords, Barons and Paladins within the Bretonnian Exiles army cannot have the Grail vow because they're dishonored. However, the following characters may replace the Knight's Vow with the Exiles Vow for free. So Barons and Paladins, Knights of the Realm on foot, Knights Errant, Mountain Knights of the Realm, and Pegasus Knights. The Exiles Vow is a vow. A model with this vow has stubborn and veteran special rules because they're basically living it in the wilds. And does not have to make panic tests for friendly units with either the levies or peasantry special rule when they're destroyed within 6. That includes your mercenaries. Or is fled through by levies or peasantry special rules. And then Reclaimed Glory. So you don't get the Knight's Vow, so you can't take a blessing. A Bretonnian Exiles army cannot pray for Blessing the Lady at the beginning of the game. However, should a unit with the Blessing the Lady special rule make an overrun move or make contact with a fleeing enemy unit during a charge or pursuit move, that unit will immediately gain the Blessing of the Lady, as if it had prayed at the start of the game. Additionally, should a character with the Blessing of the Lady kill an enemy character in a challenge, they immediately gain the Blessing of the Lady. So like, you start dishonored and you can gain your honor back. What a cool army list. However, should the benefits of the Blessing of the Lady special rule be lost during a game, they cannot be regained again in this way. I love this army list. It's so cool. Let's look at the units that you can have. You can have Outcast Wizards. So 25 by 25 mil base, they're level 1. You can make them level 2. They can take any of the lores. So Battle Magic, Demonology, Dark Magic, Elementalism, Illusion, and Necromancy. You can have Demonology in your army. That's so cool. And then you can upgrade them up to level 3. You can put 75 points of magic items too. They have Magic Attack, Magic Resistance -1, and Untutored Arcanist. When rolling for a miscast, you must roll an additional d6 and discard the highest result because you're a Hedge Wizard. And they can be mounted on a Warhorse. I love that the Outcast Wizard is in here. And then Yeoman Guard on 25 by 25 mil bases. They can have Halberds, Polearms, or Thrusting Spears. They're basically better versions of the Peasant Horde. They have Close Order, Horde, Peasantry, Shield Wall, Veteran, and Warband. Which means that they have the Horde ability means they can have +3 rank bonus. And Warband means they can add the rank bonus to their leadership. They can be leadership 9. So the Yeoman Guard are actually really good. And they get Grail Monks, which can have a Blessed Triptych. And the polearm rules are the same as the other basic guys. Border Prince Brigands, they're kind of like yoked versions of Empire Militia. So they're on 25 by 25 mil bases. 3s across the board, leadership 6. They have the Horde, Impetuous, Levies, Motley Crew, Open Order, and Warband special rules. So again, they can add their rank bonus to their leadership, and they get to have a +3 rank bonus for being infantry, so they can be up to leadership 9. A Desperado can have 50 points of magic items. They can have a full command. They can have pistols, blunderbusses, or crossbows. Any model may take one of the following: additional hand weapons and shields. They're just this like mix and match weird brigands army, and they have Motley, so they can have like a mixed like unit. It's just such a cool unit. You can take like a mix of cool weapons. And blunderbusses are volley fire, multiple shots D3, and 12-inch range. But you can't make a standard shoot. Our model of the blunderbuss suffers no negative modifiers for long range, for using multiple shots, or when making a standard shoot charge reaction. That's right, because you have shotguns. And they're not once per game either. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to convert up some Border Prince brigands for sure. And then the Border Prince Bombard is basically just a, a mortar. It's got Armor Bane 2 though, cannon fire, because it bounces. Cumbersome, mover shoot, and multiple wounds. The weapon shoots like a cannon using the cannon fire special rule, and then uses the Bombard misfire table, which is interesting. Yeah, so it's, I don't know, it's just an interesting, weird baby cannon. I think it's so neat. We'll look at the magic items last, because we need to take a look at the Bold Crusaders of the Errantry Crusade. So this is the last of the variant army lists. You go back to kind of normal. It's 50% of your army can be a Duke, 0 to 1, 0 to 1 Baron or Prophetess per 1,000 points, 1+ Paladin. You have to have a Paladin because you have to have like a young hero, and then Damsels and Sergeants at Arms. You have to take at least 1 unit of Errant Knights per 1,000 points, so it'd be 2 units of Errant Knights and a 2,000-point army. 0 to 1 unit of Battle Pilgrims may be taken as a core choice. Knights of the Realm on foot, Squires, and Mounted Knights of the Realm can be taken as a core as well. And then half your army can be spent on Men-at-Arms, Peasant Bowmen, Battle Pilgrims, Questing Knights, and Pegasus Knights. And then rare, you can have Guerrilla Knights and Mounted Yeomen, and 0 to 1 Field Trebuchet. And up to 25% of your army points can be spent on mercenaries, including the following: Empire Knights and Inner Circle Knights. So they're basically subject to misbehaving mercenaries, and they get pulled from there, but no allies. And then your Battle Standard Bearer is free as usual, and you can take magic items from the Common or Kingdom of Bretonnia magic item list. Special rules: you are Crusading Knights. Within an Errantry Crusade army, the following characters gain Crusader's Zeal. In addition, any of the following characters or units that have the Knight's Vow, we replace it with the Crusader's Vow for free. So Barons and Paladins, Knights of the Realm on foot, Battle Pilgrims, Knights Errant, Mounted Knights of the Realm, Questing Knights, Guerrilla Knights, Pegasus Knights, and Mounted Yeomen. They get Crusader's Zeal. A unit with the special rule increases its maximum possible charged by 1 inch and get +1 to the modified charge roll. In addition, a unit with the special rule gains the Impetuous special rule. So you're always impetuous and you get +1 to charge. The Crusader's Vow is a chivalrous vow, as described on page 108 of Forces of Fantasy. In addition, a model with this chivalrous vow is a veteran and does not have to make a panic test when a friendly unit with the peasantry rule is destroyed within 6 or is fled through. A unit with this vow cannot join a unit with the peasantry special rule. A character with this vow cannot be joined by a character with the peasantry special rule. And then earn your spurs. Any enemy standard captured by a unit with the Knights Errant, a unit of Knights Errant is worth 100 victory points. It's the Trophy of War. In addition, while within 6 of a friendly model with the Grail Vow or any Lord of Bretonnia, units of Errantry Knights may reroll any rolls to hit of 1. Natural rolls to hit of 1. And that's it. So we've got our special characters here. You can see most of them are new. We got Lady Elise Ducard, Sir Cecil Gaston the Wormslayer, and then the Return of the Green Knight. These are our cool special characters. And we'll go through those. I think that's all of them. Yeah, and then we'll look at the magic items. So the Green Knight, he's on a 30 by 60 millimeter base. He's heavy cavalry and a named character. Weapon skill 7, strength toughness 4, wounds 4, initiative 6, 4 attacks, leadership 9. And he's got 4 attacks from, or strength 4 attack from his Shadow Steed as well. He has the Dolorous Blade, heavy armor, and a shield. The Aura of the Fae. When a weak Green Knight loses his last wound, he's removed from the play as usual, but is not slain. His controller player can attempt to awaken him again during the any turn subphase in which he's not in the battlefield, using the Guardian of the Sacred Site special rule. However, each time the Green Knight is slain, he's weakened and suffers a -1 modifier to the dice to reawaken him, and -1 to his wound characteristics to a minimum of 1. So he comes back a little bit weaker. And then Blessed Knight, he has a 5+ ward save. He's ethereal. He has the ethereal special rule. Guardian of the Sacred Sites. The Green Knight is not placed in the battlefield during deployment. He slumbers until he's awakened during the game. During any of your start of turn subphases in which the Green Knight is not in the battlefield, You can roll to see if he arrives. On a 1 or 2, he continues to slumber. On a 3+, he awakens. If the Green Knight's not yet been awakened at the start of round 5, he just awakens automatically. When he awakens, he's placed completely within any natural terrain feature anywhere on the battlefield. For the purpose of this role, natural is any woods or any difficult or dangerous terrain. Before the player, the player should agree which terrain features are natural and which are not. In addition, rather than moving normally during the remaining move subphase, the Green Knight's completely within a natural terrain feature and not engaged. You can remove him from the battlefield and replace him so that he's completely within any other different natural terrain feature. So you can bamf around them, but he can't move again. Then you have the Dolorous Blade. It's rapid strikes or deadly blows. So if he rapid strikes it, it's extra attacks D6 and magical at his strength of 4 and -1 save. And the deadly blow is strength +2, -1, armor bane 1 for 6 giving additional AP, magic attacks and multiple wounds 2. So he's not as killy as he could be, but he's just this weird like teleporty. I don't know, I like him. He's thematic now. And he's not that expensive. 275 points is not that expensive. Sir Cecil Gaston, the Wormslayer. No one fights like Gaston. No, I'm not going to do it. Sir Cecil Gaston, the Wormslayer, he's a fighter now. Weapon skill 7, bliss skill 3, strength toughness 4, 3 wounds, initiative 5, 4 attacks, leadership 9. He's on a 25/25. He's a regular infantry model. So he's on foot. He's got Sorrow's End as his sword, Dragonhide Cloak, heavy armor, and a shield. Blessing the Lady, he can do the Rallying Cry, so he gets an additional rally attempt on a unit during the sort of turn phase as a command. The Wormslayer and the Exiles' Vows. So he's basically an exiled knight. The Wormslayer. Should Sir Cecil Gaston kill an enemy model whose troop type is Monsters Infantry, Monsters Cavalry, Monsters Creature, or Behemoth during a combat phase, he gains terror for the remainder of the game. And he has the Dragonhide Cloak. The armor-piercing characteristic of any non-magical weapon used to attack Sir Cecil is reduced by 2. In addition, Sir Cecil is immune to killing blow and multiple wounds. If he suffers an unsaved wound from an attack with these, he just takes a single wound. Finally, he has a 3+ ward save against any wounds with a flaming attack. And then Sorrow's End is strength +1, AP -1, magical attacks, monster slayer, and multiple wounds 2. This guy's kind of a beast for a foot model. He's only 165 points. I think he's just neat. I'll probably get him when he comes out because I'm doing an exile army and I want to have all these exiles. Lady Elise Ducard. She's a prophetess of the Duke of Brion. She is weapon skill 4, bliss skill 3, toughness 4, 5 wounds. She's very tough because she's mounted on Ariandir. She's Monsters Cavalry on a 40/60 mil base. And then Ariandir's her unicorn. She has the Chalice of Brion and the Staff of the Elements. And then the level 3 is her wizard, and she knows spells from the Lord of Elementalism. Her special rules are Arcane Backlash, Armor Bane 2 for Ariandir only, Armored Hide 1, Order of the Lady, Beguiling Aura, Blessing of the Lady, Countercharge, Lord of the Lady, Magic Attacks, Magic Resistance -2, Shield of the Lady, Stomp, and Swift Stride. The Arcane Backlash. Lady Elise may apply a +1 modifier to any of her Dispel rolls. In addition, should she roll any natural double, the casting wizard immediately loses a single wound. And the spell's unbound. The Chalice of Brion. While this model is command range, enemy characters may attempt to use any special roll magic item that requires them to make a leadership test. They suffer a -2 to their to the leadership characteristic to a minimum of 1. So like if Tomb Kings are trying to arise in range of her in command range, they'd be -2. The Staff of the Elements. If you wish, Lady Elise can discard 2 of her randomly generated spells rather than 1, and instead select 2 signature spells from either Elementalism and or the Lord of the Lady. That's very handy for dropping and picking. And she's only 225. She's pretty cheap. And then it's our magic items. So these are additional magic items that can be taken usually for one of these additional army lists, but there's some that are just like generically available to Bretonians as well. So the Crusader's Lance, this is for a Infantry Crusade army only. It's +2 strength, -2 AP, Armor Bane 2, Furious Charge, hate everyone, and magical attacks. What a great lance. But can only be used on the charge. The Frontier Axe, I like this one a lot. Strength +2, -3, a save, magic attacks, multiple wounds 2, and requires 2 hands. Can only be taken by Exiles. I will definitely be looking at that one. Sword of the Stout-Hearted. It is combat strength +2, so it's in melee. Armor Bane 1, immune to psychology, magic attacks, and requires 2 hands. And then Foebreaker. This is combat strength +1, magic attacks. Any enemy model that suffers 1 or more unsaved wounds from Foebreaker must make an immediate toughness test. And if they fail it, they're -1 to their weapon skill and attacks until the end of the next combat phase. Because you basically smack them around and they get all stunned. Magic armor, the anointed armor. This is for Grail models only who are infantry or cavalry. And the anointed armor is a suit of heavy armor. In addition, as long as the wearer has the blessing of the lady, they're immune to killing blow and multiple wounds X, and take a single wound instead. If they lose their blessing, then this is also lost. Iron Spike Shield for 20 points. It's for Exiles of Infamy only. I like it's just covered in sharpened spikes. It's just a board with a nail in it. The Iron Spike Shield is a shield. Whenever the opponent rolls a natural 1 to hit or to wound, the wielder of this shield in combat, the enemy immediately suffers a strength 3 hit with a -1 AP. The Grail Pendant is 40 points, modeled with the Grail Vow only, single use. When the wearer of the Grail Pendant loses their last wound, roll a d6. On a 2+, the wound's not lost. A Lucky Heirloom. A Lucky Heirloom may only be taken by a model in the Bretonnian Exiles of Army of Infamy. Once per round, the bearer of the Lucky Heirloom can reroll a single failed roll to hit or to wound, or reroll a failed armor save or ward save. That's pretty handy, actually. And then the Magic Standards. The Banner of the Lady's Grace. A unit carrying the Banner of the Lady's Grace ignores all negative modifiers to its leadership. The Crusader's Tapestry. It's only for an anti-Crusade army. You get Frenzy. The Banner of the Zealous Knight. The Banner of the Zealous Knight can only be taken by Bretonnian Exiles. A unit carrying the Banner of the Zealous Knight gains the Vanguard special roll. Neat. And then Banner of the Honorable Warfare. A unit carrying the Banner of Honorable Warfare must reroll any failed to hit roll made during the first round of combat when engaged with an enemy equipped with any missile weapons. They hate guys with guns. It's like Batman, no guns. Enchanted items, the Seal of Paravon. When a bearer of the Seal of Paravon makes a roll to hit, a roll of 3+ always succeeds. That's a very handy ability. The Crusader's Clarion may only be taken by an anti-Crusade army of infantry, which is mounted on a Bretonnian warhorse. On a turn in which the bearer of the Crusader's Clarion charged, their mount and all mounts in the same unit have +1 to their strength. The Wormbreath Vial can only be taken by Exiles Army of Infantry. It's single use, it's a breath weapon, strength 4 -1, breath weapon, flaming attacks, and magical attacks. You know, a one-use dragon, basically. And then Hearts of the Wild as your arcane item. This is for damsels, but I guess you could also take it on a outcast wizard. The Bearer of the Heart of the... Actually, no, because they're mercenaries, I don't think you could. No, they count as part of the army list. The Bearer of the Heart of the Wilds may apply a +1 modifier to any of their casting rolls while they're within a natural terrain feature. For the purpose of this rule, a natural terrain feature includes any woods or any difficult terrain and dangerous terrain feature. And you should agree before the game what is. A Diadem of Power can only be taken by a model in an anti-Crusade army of infamy. When attempting to cast a magical vortex, magical missile, or an assailment spell, the bearer of the Diadem of Power gains a +1 modifier to their casting roll. And then the Flame Strike Wand. The Flame Strike Wand can only be taken by a model in a Bretonnian Exiles army of infamy. Single use, the bearer of the Flame Strike Wand can cast the Fireball spell at bound power level of 3. And that's it. That's what an Arcane Journal is. So just a bunch of extra fun gear, a lot of it tied to the armies of infamy that are in the book. But not required to play with the army, which I think is cool. I like what they've done with the Bretonnians here. I like it more that they're not a one-dimensional all-night army. Like, honestly, if it wasn't for the infantry army is fine because it's always existed. The army of exile is the nice, like that really turns the army up a notch. I thought the army book or the Arcane Journal for the Tomb Kings was cool, but it was basically just, it revolved around 2 models you were always taking anyway because you always had to have a prince, you always had to have a lich. This mixing in Empire stuff and being more border princey and just weird makes me really happy. I hope the future Arcane Journals are more like this one and give us a bunch of just like cool flavor where the army's presented in a way that it's not normally presented. Like I thought the construct one for the liches was cool. The phalanxes and cohorts in the Tomb King one was even cooler. But the way this actually mixes in models from another army, I think it's the top of the first 4 for the armies of infamy, I think, for sure. So there it is, a look at the Kingdom of Bretonnia. We'll be back with our next one, which is the Wood Elves. You can check it out in the playlist. You can check out all the other reviews as well that are up today. So big thanks for watching. We'll see you for more GMG reviews. Till then, I'm Ash. Happy gaming.